Hair is one of the most prominent characteristics of the human body. It can be curly, wavy, straight, or coily, but they all share one trait: it's natural. So, why is natural African hair treated so differently? African hair ranges from the loose curls of 3A to the tight coils of 4C, yet they all seem to garner criticism. Why is straight and wavy hair seen as beautiful or innocent, while curly and coily hair is deemed as dirty or unprofessional? Many have yet to understand why Black people are so protective of their hair, which brings forth the question: why is African hair such a sensitive topic in the Black community? After much deliberation, I ultimately decided to chronologically structure my research around ethnomethodology, which examines how people use dialogue and body language to construct a worldview. This proved to be the most logical approach because it accurately represented how the bigotry directed towards African hair in the past built a foundation for the exclusion of Black features from many modern-day beauty standards. For a more in-depth understanding of this topic, I required qualitative data, primary sources, and secondary sources, such as anecdotal testimonies from early European traders and timelines to identify and disprove the modern racist stereotypes of African hair being dirty and unkempt. To further this, I delved into the cultural significance and symbolism behind the hair of various African ethnic groups, like the Himba and Fulani tribe, to emphasize that Black people had been treating their hair with utmost care since the beginning of time. This data also proved to be efficient because it accentuated the stark contrast of how white people maliciously treated African hair as slavery began. From online articles to verified documentaries, I highlighted the origins of oppressive regulations like the Tignon Law that forced African American slaves to cover their hair, and how slave owners forced African Americans to shave their hair to not only erase their identities, self-esteem, and culture, but to also satisfy the white individuals that envy the extravagant hairstyles and textures, all while degrading Black hair by comparing it to animals and inanimate objects to further characterize it as weird or an embarrassment. Even after the Emancipation Proclamation, Black people continued to believe these stereotypes and began unhealthily altering their hair to fit white beauty standards because they felt that assimilation was the only way to be accepted. To emphasize the relation of this mindset to modern times, I incorporated news reports and articles of schools and workplaces, including the U.S. Army, disguising discriminatory beauty standards as dress codes or professionalism to subtly pressure Black people into looking white, thus leading me to investigating the 1960s natural hair movement, which aided me in forming a proper conclusion of why Black people are so defensive of their hair. For many, returning one's hair to its natural state was seen as a visible connection to their African ancestors, and for others, it meant rejecting society's oppressive definition of beauty and embracing individuality. Unfortunately, this movement gradually lost meaning in the 80s as a new problem arose: cultural appropriation. Non-Black people began perming their hair to achieve the Afro look and braiding their hair for nothing more than aesthetic purposes. By featuring the controversy of Kim Kardashian and Bo Derek, I was able to draw attention to how many ignorant white people are placed on a pedestal for wearing what Black people have been shamed for wearing for centuries. Even though this dispute about celebrities can be interpreted as a weak source, the social debate between their loyal white fanbase and the unsettled Black community provided many different viewpoints of cultural appropriation as a whole. With that said, it is understandable for non-Black people to be curious of a hair texture that is much different from their own, but there are many ways to appreciate African culture without reinforcing discriminatory stereotypes or disregarding the history behind it. It is impossible to determine how long it will take before Black people feel comfortable with sharing their culture because everyone is different. Some Black people would love to see a non-Black person in braids, while others might need more time before seeing a non-Black person partake in the culture that they worked so hard to empower. At the end of the day, society must respect each and everyone's culture and evaluate people by their performance and character rather than by their hair.